The first time Adrian Moretti looked at me, the room forgot how to breathe. I was only there to deliver a donor packet and leave before anyone noticed my thrift store heels on that marble floor. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, crystal, and women who looked born for places like this. I wasn't. I had found the ring that morning in my late mother's old dresser, tucked beneath a stack of yellowed receipts, and slipped it on without thinking. It felt cool, familiar, harmless. Then Adrian stepped through the crowd, stopped dead, and stared at my hand like I'd just pulled a ghost out of hiding. His face did not change much. That was the frightening part. Men like Adrian Moretti probably did not need dramatic reactions. The silence around him did the work for them. He crossed the ballroom with slow, measured steps, and every conversation near us seemed to soften without anyone being told. I should have looked away. I should have slipped the ring into my purse and disappeared into the service hallway. Instead, I stood there with my pulse climbing into my throat as his eyes stayed fixed on my hand. When he finally stopped in front of me, his voice was quiet, controlled, and somehow more unsettling because of it. "Who gave you that ring?" I swallowed once and curled my fingers, but it was too late to hide the ring now. "I found it this morning," I said, "in my mother's old dresser." Something in his expression shifted, small but sharp, like a crack running through glass. His gaze lifted to my face for the first time, and that was somehow worse. He looked at me as if he was matching features against a memory he had never managed to bury. Around us, the orchestra kept playing and waiters drifted past with champagne, but the night had narrowed to one question and one impossible stare. "Your mother," he said softly. "What was her name?" My mouth went dry. "Evelyn Bennett," I said, barely recognizing my own voice. For 1 second, Adrian Moretti looked less like a man who owned the room and more like someone the room had just betrayed. His jaw tightened. His eyes dropped to the ring again, then returned to me with a focus so intense it made my skin go cold beneath the ballroom lights. "That is not possible," he said, almost to himself. I should have walked away then. Instead, I stood there with a donor packet clutched against my ribs, wondering why a stranger in a perfect suit looked at my mother's name like it had just reached across time and touched his throat. Before I could answer, a woman in diamonds brushed past me, laughing too loudly, and the spell broke just enough for me to breathe again. I took a small step back. Adrian noticed. Of course he did. Men like him probably noticed everything. "You knew my mother?" I asked, trying to sound steady and failing anyway. He did not answer right away. His gaze moved over my face with a strange, almost reluctant recognition, as if every second confirmed something he had spent years trying not to believe. Then he leaned in just enough for only me to hear him. "If your mother was Evelyn Bennett, then you were never supposed to disappear." My fingers tightened around the donor packet until the edges bent. "I think you have the wrong person," I whispered, but even to me it sounded weak. Adrian's expression turned unreadable again, that brief fracture in him sealing shut beneath polished control. The music swelled. Glasses clinked. Somewhere across the ballroom, people laughed like the world had not just tilted under my feet. He stepped aside and glanced toward the exit, then back at me. "I hope I am wrong, Claire," he said quietly, and hearing my name from his mouth made my stomach drop. "Because if I am not, tonight is the first night someone else remembers you too." I wanted to stop him, demand answers, force this surreal moment into something logical, but Adrian was already moving away, the crowd opening for him, as if the ballroom itself answered to his silence. I stood there under the chandeliers with my pulse beating too fast, and the ring suddenly feeling heavier than gold had any right to feel. "Claire," a voice called from across the room, sharp with panic. My coworker rushed toward me, pale beneath the soft lights. "Where have you been?" "2 men just asked the event manager for your home address." I turned toward the exit instinctively, but Adrian was already looking back at me like he had expected this exact moment. My coworker's hand closed around my arm, trembling. "Claire, do not look now," she whispered, which of course guaranteed that I did. Near the far wall, 2 men in dark suits stood too still for guests and too watchful for staff. They were not drinking. They were not talking. They were looking for someone. Me. Before panic could fully take shape, Adrian was suddenly beside us again, all calm edges and controlled breath. He did not touch me, but the space around him changed, colder and safer at once. "You are leaving with me," he said quietly. "And before you say no, understand this. They are not here because of the gala. They are here because of that ring. For one suspended second, I forgot the music, the chandeliers, even my own name. All I could feel was the weight of that ring against my skin and the impossible steadiness of Adrian Moretti's voice. What does the ring have to do with me? I asked, but the answer was already taking shape in his eyes. Not surprise, not curiosity, recognition. Old, sharp, unwelcome recognition. Behind him, the two men had started moving through the crowd with slow patience, like they believed time was on their side. Adrian held my gaze and lowered his voice even further. Everything, he said, and if I am right, your mother did not hide that ring from the world. She hid you with it. In this dark romance, a young woman uncovers an old ring hidden in her late mother's dresser and wears it to an elegant Manhattan gala, never expecting the Mafia boss to go still at the sight of it. What begins as a question about a forgotten heirloom becomes a dangerous mystery tied to buried identities, lost years, and a past someone tried to erase. As the Mafia boss recognizes pieces of her story before she does, the young woman is forced to confront secrets that make her question everything about her mother, her childhood, and herself. With cinematic tension, emotional suspense, and a powerful connection built through silence, memory, and protection, this dark romance delivers mystery and fate. Perfect for fans of dark romance, emotional twists, dark romance longing, and dark romance that lingers long. After midnight beneath glittering chandeliers, where one ring awakens memory, danger, destiny, and forbidden connection. Character 1, a white American woman in her mid-20s, wearing a modest black gala dress, front-facing portrait, elegant yet vulnerable expression, soft natural lighting, realistic skin texture, no CGI, no illustration, no cartoon, cinematic realism, detailed eyes. Character 2, a white man in his early 30s, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, front-facing portrait, sharp jawline, intense pale blue eyes, composed and powerful expression, realistic skin texture, cinematic lighting, no CGI, no illustration, no cartoon. 3. A high-rise Manhattan office at night, cinematic realism, daily life scenes centered on the white Mafia boss in his early 30s, front-facing and sharply composed, wearing a flawless black tailored suit with a crisp white shirt, strong jawline, pale blue eyes, calm but burdened expression, standing beside a dark wood desk with organized files, an untouched espresso, city lights glowing through floor-to-ceiling windows behind him. A world of power shown through restraint instead of excess. Subtle security presence blurred in the far background. No confrontation yet. Only control, memory, and loneliness. Elegant modern interior with muted colors, polished stone, soft reflections, realistic white skin texture, clean grooming, composed posture, one hand resting on the desk as if carrying years of responsibility, cinematic shadows, quiet authority, emotional distance. Expensive but understated